Background ponies. Background ponies are those ponies that make the world of Equestria feel more real and alive, and MLB has a lot of them. Like a lot. Like an absurd amount of them. Some of them are actually fan favorites, others became great and powerful new additions to the show, and others were used one time to never be seen again. Yeah, believe it or not, MLP had a big problem with background ponies after season 6, where they began to introduce and create so many background characters that the show became overflown with them, to the point that they really didn't know what to do with them. Compare this to what we saw back in season 1, where they would use the same ponies multiple times to in a way give the impression that Ponyville was a small town and that it wasn't necessarily populated by a lot of characters. But one of these characters got the attention of fans more than the others, one that not only became the face of the MLP community for years to come, but one that literally revolutionized the internet as a whole. Either because of her personality, humor, voice, and later, her story. So today join me to rediscover the amazing story of this character and what made her so special. So I think you know who I'm talking about, and that is this cute little pony, which has a lot of names, either Derpy, Ditsy-Doo, Muffins, Bubbles, or
Derpy!
But for the sake of this video, I will go with Derpy. But why is she called Derpy in the first place? Well, because in the second episode of season 1, in Twilight's Welcome Party, we can see Derpy with her eyes crossed, and this was because of an animation error. Something that was really normal back in the few first seasons of MLP, where they had a lot of animation errors. But in a way this actually helped Derpy stand out from the rest of the ponies, and I probably wasn't the only one thinking this, because after this episode aired, somebody took a screenshot and posted it on 4chan. And believe it or not, 4chan was one of the first sites that I could remember where you can talk and discuss MLPG4 back in the day, and probably was the first place where it exploded in popularity. But it was in here where originally fans named her Derpy. And as a fun fact, the animators and writers never named every background character in the show, and most of the time they would just separate them by numbers, and it wasn't until later that they would name them. This was the case with characters like Lyra, Bon Bon, Dr. Hooves, Roselock, and Minuet. Others would be renamed and saw new life in the comics, as what we saw with Lemony Drops, who originally was called Lemon Hearts. And other characters would be entirely renamed, as what happened with the original Moondancer. And shortly after this, Derpy's popularity would skyrocket to an all-time high, with everyone in the fandom loving her, and I'm not talking only because of her crossed eyes or because she looked cute, but for her personality, because a lot of people like her clumsy but cute attitude she had in the show. And everyone at this time was in what I would say was Derpy Mania. Derpy was everywhere in fall 2010, from t-shirts, animations.
Snowflake! It was Snowflake!
Holy shit! Holy shit! Protect me, Captain Crunch! Protect me, Captain Crunch!
And art, although Hasbro wasn't that happy that fans were referring to this character as Derpy, and actually they tried to change her name multiple times. These names were Bubbles, Muffins, and weirdly, Stoneface. But fans didn't really like those names and stuck with the name Derpy, and even Lauren Faust herself noticed the big following Derpy had at this time in the fandom, and made the decision to keep Derpy as she was in the show, with her crossed eyes and dumb but charismatic personality. And famously, Derpy would have her first piece of dialogue in season 2, and everyone going crazy at that time for only this 1-minute clip. And everything was going great at this time, but while at the time we really didn't know what was coming, something was coming, and it wasn't good for our beloved Pegasus. So I think you know what I'm going to talk about. So in early 2012, multiple families in the United States began to report to Hasbro that Derpy was a bad example for their kids, and some of them even reported that Derpy was even offensive. Which at the time I really found just dumb, because Derpy to me at least, never was an offensive character, but rather a character that showed me that despite who you were, as imperfect as you were perfect in your own special way. And this message resonated with me as a kid because I was a really clumsy kid, one that either was all the time breaking stuff or bleeding, and having a character that I could relate at that time, a time where I didn't have anyone except my family, was something really special. But Hasbro didn't think that, so in that same year they removed Derpy. And what I mean by that is that we didn't see Derpy on the rest of Season 2 and Season 3, and soon fans would actually notice, and the whole community, including myself, would create the movement #SaveDerpy. This being a way to protest against Hasbro and to bring back our beloved character, a movement that was the right thing to do by the community at the time, as we were protesting against the removal of a beloved character, one that really didn't do nothing wrong. And at its peak, this situation sparked comics, artwork, and even songs, and we as fans we were left waiting to see if Hasbro would bring back Derpy, which they didn't. But this didn't mean that Derpy was entirely gone, as in the fall of 2012, the first Derpy merch dropped as a 2012 Comic-Con exclusive brushable, and the merch would continue to come out from there. With the first wave of MLP Funko Pops, the Aurora plushies, and even the first fan plushies I saw on eBay. But my favorite piece of merch that came out at that time was a Crane exclusive plush of Derpy, either with her mouth opened or closed. A plush that I still have to this day and that holds a lot of sentimental value and a special place in my heart. And of course, fan games. From Derpy's Great Adventure,
that thing there, come on. Ah!
Muffins.exe,
Sure. Is there something with the apples like an Easter egg? No, you guys are gonna be like, you forgot the Easter egg! You're Did we get caught by Slenderman? What the heck is this? Okay. Give me something really scary. I can take it. I can dish out the scariness that you can provide. Come on. Now's your chance. Surprise me. Could have been better.
and my personal favorite, Derp Till Dawn, which I know what you're probably saying. You're kidding, right? It's literally Slenderman with ponies. It doesn't make any sense. Which I know that might probably be the case if you just follow by the name, but it isn't. The game actually has a really intriguing and cryptic story, with one of the scariest moments in any MLP fan game at that time. And it doesn't help that it was made by Donuts, the same person that made Story of the Blanks and actually other MLP games. And again, if you were an MLP fan back in the day, these games are not only nostalgic but great. But everything would change on June 15, 2013, with the first Sequester Girls movie, where Derpy would actually appear in the movie in the background of the song Helping Twilight Win the Crown, and later in the credits.
Taking a video? This was worth it.
Doipy!
Something that the fans adored and went ballistic about at the time.
Derpy was in it. Derpy was in it. Take that, Hasbro. Ha!
And while we didn't know it at the time, this meant that Derpy officially was back in the show as a background character, and even sometimes Derpy would have funny moments in the show, comics, and Sequester Girls. And even the writers giving Derpy more attention to detail and thought on her appearances and jokes. And of course, we as fans were delighted that Derpy was back, and we were more so when Derpy got her own dialogues and moments in the show, like in the 100th episode of the show, or the special best gift ever. And that's without mentioning that after the Equestria Girls movie, fans would make more and more Derpy content from animation, comics, and even music. And in later seasons, the writers would even attempt at giving us a story for Derpy in, of course, the background of some episodes, from the possible origins of her cross-ties, childhood, to even giving her a job and even a relationship in Equestria Girls. And Derpy would continue to appear in both the show and comics until the very end, and the last official appearance of Derpy in MLP was in the MLP manga series, where we see that a Derpy from another universe became the companion of Doctor Who's, and now the both of them travel together in time and space in a big muffin.
Yeah, basically like Doctor Who, but don't tell Hasbro.
So to answer my question in the beginning of the video, what made Derpy so special? Well, I think that what made Derpy special was us, fans, as we not only love this character even to this day, but some of us even fought to keep her on the show. Or maybe the fact that she helped us in a moment of our life and made us feel happy with who we were even if we weren't entirely perfect. Or maybe we just remember her as that funny, clumsy, and cute pony that loved muffins and, for some seconds, made us forget all the wrong things in the world. But whatever the case might be, I just want to say thank you, Derpy, for showing us that all we need in life is a muffin sometimes, and for bringing us happiness and together as a community, and of course, for existing.